So I'll be there, should I be there like 10 minutes, 15 minutes before?
Yeah. If you want to show up at 8.
Okay.
I mean, probably won't. I was thinking 8:15. They might do that at like 8:30.
Oh, okay.
I don't want you standing around for
No, I
30 or
can,
40 minutes.
well, I'm not gonna drive to work and then wait there 10 minutes and go to VO.
No, yeah.
I'll just be there by 8.
Depends on the school. It should be warm. It's going to be balmy tomorrow.
Yeah. It is 1 o'clock, time for our regularly scheduled meeting. It is time for Onion to give our pledge allegiance and invocations. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I know at the County Commission, Commissioner Jones always has a tradition of reading some scripture from the Bible. I'm going to read Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. So it says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not unto your own understanding. In all of your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths." Let us pray. Father, we come to this day, we are so grateful that you are leading and guiding us. And Father, especially during this last week's weather event, we're so grateful for all the ways in which you protected our people, especially the first responders. Father, the city crews who are out there in the extreme cold, for the fire and the police department, Father, who, because of their unique camaraderie, and Father, they joined together to save many people. And so today we are so grateful for many others, the Findlay County EMS and the Findlay County Sheriff's Department, the Kansas Highway Patrol. There were so many that were involved. So we just want to say thank you for that. We also thank you for our continued success in causing our city to thrive. And Father, thank you for giving us wisdom in all that we do today. It's in Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Maybe just ask for a quorum.
Yes. Yeah. So, all right, so item number, I guess we'll just ask Madam Clerk, do we have a quorum?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And if item 4, the approval of the minutes, if no changes were made.
I noticed for the new business item, for the half-cent item, no ayes were recorded. I'd like the city clerk to know that.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, it is time for the public comment. At this time, we ask that you come up if you have anything to speak of, other than any items other than that's what's on the agenda. We'll give you 5 minutes, and if you would please come up to the podium and state your name, and then you can continue with comments. Thank you.
Yes, I'm in.
You're it.
Well, Nathan Heck, pastor at the Turning Point Church of the Nazarene, and I want to say thank you for your willingness to serve in this new year as you get started and things are going forward. And I want to say thank you all of the commissioners and all that they do in the community as well. Thanks also to, just publicly say thanks to all of the workers who've been out through these last couple of weeks and all things. I know Troy just prayed for them, and I watched several of them, the power folks out trying in the blizzard to get the power on for certain areas, and very much appreciate the city crews, and it's a testament to our city how we come together. I went out to help a lady who had gotten stuck in some snow and just had a random stranger come by, and he had a big truck, and he said, can I hook on and pull him out? I said, please, it saves me from pushing. So, but it speaks to the nature of our community, and I was very appreciative of that. And I want to encourage you all to keep that up and keep that idea up. Don't worry about the naysayers in the world around us, and keep moving forward with that, especially as a community. I'm just very appreciative of being a part of this community. Having been here only 3 years, very excited about what's going on, and just want to say thanks to all those city workers, even the water department workers. I know there's a lot of main breaks and things going on right now, and there's just sometimes we don't hear enough good. And so I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of the community that I'm a part of and the church I'm a part of, and all the things that are going on in our community. And just making sure that we, as a community, and as you guys lead and as you move forward in the community, keep prioritizing the greater good. for what the community is. Don't think about and worry about what's going on in the world around us, all the negative. And I just want to encourage you with that, because there's a lot of people who will come against us, and especially in the public light. And so I just want to really be an encouragement to you and just say that I appreciate all that you're doing, and keep looking forward for what's greater in this community. So thank you for serving and allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? Okay. I don't see any, so we'll move on to item 5. I'm sorry, 6.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Item 6A, the governing body is asked to consider a request from James Stolich, Idea Tech, to be categorized as a local business on the application for an itinerant merchant's license. Seelan?
Mayor and Commissioners, I come before you today with James, and I did not learn how to say his name correctly from Idea Tech.
I didn't either. I'm sorry, James.
He's also here. But they requested to come before you and have, to be considered a local business under our itinerant merchant. In the packet, I did include Ordinance 2854 and Ordinance 2856, which were approved November of 2019. For those of you that were here at that time, it was a changing of our itinerant businesses, and it is also when we created the mobile food vendor as a separate business under itinerant merchant. Not going to read that whole thing to you, but per Ordinance 2854, itinerant business means any person, business, corporation, association engaging temporarily in the retail sales of goods, wares, merchandise, or services within the city. There are 2 criteria to meet. James did mention those in his letter. Local itinerant business licenses have to have a permanent physical location of not less than 1,000 square feet of retail space, office, or warehouse within Finney County, and has operated that location for a minimum of 12 consecutive months prior to the application. The fee for that license is $25 per day, $100 per month, or $300 per year. If you don't meet those requirements, so if you don't meet the 1,000 square feet minimum, you are required to, the license fee changes, and so that's $300 a day or $900 a month. So those are the 2 differences in the licenses. Previously, before Ordinance 2854 was established in 2019, we did have a business that came. Itinerant merchant license does include, like I said, the mobile food vendors, but we made a separate license for that. But it includes people that go door to door, people that go set up booths that aren't, or not booths, I'm sorry, trailers, but like might be selling merchandise, not necessarily food. Or someone back before COVID, we used to have people that would come in and set up tables and tents. Those would all fall under the itinerant merchant. Since COVID, we haven't really had anyone set up for table and tents, but we have not ever had, I don't believe in my history of licenses, have had anyone ever come and ask for a waiver or to be considered for the local door-to-door. But Idea Tech does not have a permanent physical location of at least 1,000 square feet of retail space, office, or warehouse space within the county. However, they are doing business in the city, and I'm sure you guys are aware of that. Today before you, though, the governing body may approve the request to be considered a local business, or you can deny that request to be considered a local business. Would be for I'm assuming for 1 year is what they are requesting, but I can let James come up and speak to you as well.
It's the last name that's supposed to be.
Oh, good. Well, thank you all for letting me be here, and I'll say my last name. It's Kristalik. It's a hard one. It's like the R. Everybody asks me, like, where's the vowel? Where's the I? Right? So I don't have that. It's a Croatian last name, so I'm just stuck with it. But I appreciate you allowing us to be out here. One of the things that we really want to be able to do is invest within Garden City. And I know that you have a packet there that kind of really shows of what the $5 million that we're going to be putting into the city for the economic development. And we really want to be good community partners. I've heard in the past, from past commissioners who've sat on this council that talked about, there's been other people that have come in maybe out of town when there's hailstorms and they try to take some of that local competition. But that's not Idea Tech. When we put that fiber optic into the ground, it's good for the next next 75 to 100 years. The only thing that we need to do is change the equipment at the cabinet. So we're going to be around for the long term. And we look at the license. We just did a cookie event. You might have seen it in December. We tried to engage the community a little bit, and so we paid the $300 merchant license to be a non-local, and we really thought about that at Ideatech, because a lot of the communities that we're in, we're all considered local, and in our business, it doesn't necessarily make sense for us to have a storefront, because we do not sell a physical product. You know, other competitors of ours, maybe they have cell phones, and they have things like that, where people that come in and need to get service, or they want to get upgrades on phones, et cetera. We're just a service, and so customers can actually sign up online, and they don't even have to talk to anybody. If they want to talk to us, we can definitely talk to them on the phone, but also another important aspect of our business is door to door. We send mailers out, but we also just want people to know that, hey, we are real. We work with the city to make sure we have the appropriate peddler's license and things like that. And so as community relations manager, that's what I do. I come out and I make sure that we have everything in place. And so when the sales team saw that it's $25 a day for local versus $300 for non-local, it kind of raised some flags. And so we really wanted to be able to come in and see, hey, we invest into the community, part of the chamber, EcoDev, you know, we work with United Way as well. And so we really are here to stay. And so our ask is to become a local business, and if at minimum, maybe for just a year, and then we could reevaluate. But it's going to take us some time to hit all the city, and so at least a year of door to door, and we can always come back and revisit that. But again, we just hope to be considered local. So.
James, has there ever been talk in your department about ever building a building here or moving your location to have an established facility here in Garden City?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we've had that talk. Currently, we have an office in Buhler, Kansas, and we have an office in Fowler, Kansas. And so as we keep moving west, the talk is, hey, we need to figure something out. Currently, we don't have any employees in Garden City, and so that would take some time to figure that out. But also it takes, what would those employees be doing since we don't have anything physically that we can sell them? We've talked about, you know, how people pay their bills. Maybe it's a thing where somebody can come pay their bills. But a lot of times everybody now is paying debit card, credit card, check, and we still take cash by mail and things of that nature. But we talked about that, you know, even a facility of having our installers, but we haven't pulled the trigger on that just because we're a small business and we have to make sure it makes sense and things. But I know as we continue to grow, and especially from the Highway 83 project that we're granted, we're going to have to look at it. And so just trying to figure out what Daniel and the strategic team thinks on that.
Yeah, Garden City would be a great location.
Yeah,
So as you're
I tell
thinking,
you what, I sure do enjoy my time here in Garden City. With everybody I meet, it's a great community that you all have, and I'm excited to be able to come out here when we do. So
can you talk a little bit about the $5 million? So that's basically your fiber optic cables and everything that you've installed already, or your?
yeah, and so that's pretty much where we're at. Thomas Garrett is our Vice President of Business Development. He said, James, it's actually more of $10 million when it's all said and done. That's $5 million as of today. And so when Amy helped me put this together, because she's a lot better at getting things organized than I am, she had that in there, and I was going through that, and he goes, it's actually going to be $10 million, like all things all said and done. So we're going to be putting a large chunk in here because we believe within Garden City, we have a special pricing specifically for Garden City that's going to be released very soon as well. And so we think that residents are going to thoroughly enjoy having the option of another competitor within the city. That way they have choices.
Is there some sort of option to, I guess, just have like a warehouse just to store something? Like, because I guess the policy is here to attract local business, and I get that you are local here, but is there any, I don't know, chance to meet the requirements?
I don't know. I would have to ask them. I mean, we lease some space for our wireless, and so we have like a colo cabinet, and I can tell you exactly where that's at. Like, we might have a little shelf of space that technically we lease a month. That is equipment that we lease, but when it comes to an actual facility, those fiber spools are quite large. And so when we do a lot of our work, once we build the fiber, we're done because there's no more putting that in. So it's hard to just have one central location, because a lot of times when we buy the thing, the manufacturers will ship it right to the site where we need to be. And that's why it's a little bit probably of a challenge for that. But But, you know, that's one thing that could be potential in the future. And I will say, last thing too, is the ACP program for the education for residents, is that also helps us get out in the public. And so when we try to partner with the library, you know, you'd have to make sure you have that license, number one. But number two, just education. We like to host informational meetings so people know that, hey, these programs are aware, if you're free reduced lunches, you qualify, you know, income levels, and that's a little bit as well that would help with our driver's license.
Yeah, it sounds like this is a unique situation, but they sound pretty grounded in the community, and a $10 million investment that's pretty significant. So,
Any other questions for James? Thanks, James.
Thank you very much.
Is there any further discussion? Okay. Do I hear a motion?
yeah, I move that we reconsider the request from James Kristalik of Idea to be categorized as a local business on the application for the itinerant merchant's license.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Item 7A, Mayor and Commissioners, Police Chief Pruitt and Fire Chief Bursick will provide a report on the coordinated emergency response to the January 8th and 9th, 2024 blizzard. Chiefs?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. We have a presentation that's up at PowerPoint. So we put together a general overview. I actually lost rock, paper, scissors. And John's going to jump in when he has some stuff to say later on in the presentation. But we put together some pictures and video, kind of just to give an idea of what went on. One of the things that I think is important to note is that when we say that this is the emergency response, the public works, public utilities, and parks folks are out doing their piece of that as well. So we're not going to talk about that specifically. We tried to make sure that we were doing concurrent and supporting operations, and we had to ask for a little bit of help from their folks, and we'll talk about that in detail in just a second. But they were out trying to keep the power on and the water on and the roads and snow routes open, so we tried to stay away from asking for help, but we actually had to. So we'll talk about that in just a second. We put this together just kind of as an opportunity for discussion, you guys to ask questions if you had it, and it also gives John and I a little bit of an opportunity to recognize some pretty amazing work that happened during the storm. So,
They can't get a temperature, they can explain how bad it was out there.
We can open the window.
So these were two videos that were taken by people that were out. This is body camera footage.
As you can see, their cars had stopped, and they had to walk almost a mile into the group of cars where they were abandoned, just knock on every door to make sure everybody was out. This particular video happened on West 15 out by Tyson. This is right between Tyson and the gas plant.
We're about a mile west of Tyson. There's roughly 6 vehicles in the roadway. We won't be able to get past this area of the highway.
That video goes on for a little bit, and it just you see him fall about 4 more times.
So were you searching the vehicles for people in the vehicles?
We were not searching.
No, right. Yeah.
So we just received a call that somebody needed help or was stranded motorist, so we respond to that location. While we're responding to that location, normally we found 10 to 12 cars. Sometimes we fill the barricade up and send it back. It takes 2 or 3 trips to get to the person that actually called 911, so.
These are just some pictures of kind of what the conditions were throughout the day. And then we have a kind of an aftermath photo. That's kind of the aftermath, that's the next day.
West Jones, in between Garden and Home, so.
So as part of the emergency response, our 911 center was obviously inundated. We brought in extra help. During the time frame, they took 302 911 calls. Calls on the non-emergency line was 712. And then you'll note that on the number 300, there's an asterisk, but we had to make calls back to stranded motorists. And a lot of times, we don't have an accurate number. We have a number of what the dispatchers and communicators made, but in the EOC operations, some of the folks that were working there were making those calls too. We were making so many, we weren't able to keep track of how many it is. So that's kind of an estimate of how many calls we made. Some of the resources that we had out, we had command vehicles. That's not like a big command trailer or anything. That's some of those vehicles like John and I drive where we were using those just to run back and forth, do stuff in town. But we had quite a few of those out, and that's all of the different agencies or organizations that are represented there. We pre-staged the command trailer across the street in the county parking lot, just in case we needed it as a generator. And it also has radio equipment that we can use in case there was a power failure or we needed extra space. Some of the fire apparatuses that were out. We used patrol vehicles as well. I really want to kind of skip down to the last 2 bullet points because that's where I think that the heavy lifting was done. We had some heavy equipment out, and that was from Public Works and Public Utilities from both the city and the county, where we had to ask for a little bit of help. And then some of our specialty vehicles that were out. We had John's brush trucks out, and we had a Bearcat and RV out.
I think you got it
On the
slides.
I'll add one thing, on the specialty vehicles, it got to the point where either the heavy equipment or the specialty vehicles was the only things that were moving. So with those brush trucks, the Bearcat and Humvee, that was the only thing we were able to move in. We had to park the patrol vehicles. We got several of them stuck during that time frame and had to go out and do self-rescues as well. So we didn't include those on the rescues that happened. Personnel involved in this, again, is all of the personnel that were out from the different organizations. And highlighting the first 2 bullet points are really the ones that kind of were important because we had to ask for help from Public Works on both the county and the city side. And both of those were rescues that happened significantly outside the city limits. One of them 27 miles out. And I can tell you, and I have no problem saying it out loud, public meeting, that if they wouldn't have done what they did, those 2 people probably wouldn't have made it. So Tyler from the city, and then the
Katie from Public Works. We're experiencing approximately 9 foot bursts south to 1 mile long. So without a loader, we could have got the 3 people that were stuck. Same with 156. So.
There were several times where John and I were having conversations of, what happens is when we don't go out and try to do it. So, but as you can see, we had a lot of people out, a lot of people doing really amazing work. Too many to name, but Tyler and Kate, from the county specifically, did some pretty amazing work above and beyond what they were doing out there.
So some of the lessons learned throughout the incident, opening the EOC and staff there. We started our meetings Friday, 1 o'clock, continued those meetings throughout the weekend, updating with National Weather Service all the way into noon on Monday, which we decided to go ahead and open the EOC, involve everybody in the stakeholders and the key people that contribute to decisions. We staffed it from approximately 1 o'clock till 7 o'clock the next morning. Stood up a unified response between all agencies down there, SO, the Public Works, and we're able to have everybody in there to make those decisions and move forward so these rescues can go. Throughout that process, it's called the snowball effect. From Friday to Monday, from a handful of people to a large amount of people in these meetings, giving input of what's going on around the county so we know where to go and focus. So, some continued planning and training preparations. As we work through this after action report, I'm pretty sure it'll take a couple of weeks, any information that we get, and hopefully build even better bonds and better plans moving forward. So with that, we can open it up for any questions or concerns that you might have with the response.
John, just for a little bit of clarification on the acronyms, can you kind of describe what those are?
EOC is the Emergency Operations Center, and the Unified Command is where not one person's in command, we're a group, and that was the EOC, the 20 people that we had down there. LAPC was a local emergency planning committee. They meet monthly, kind of discuss these scenarios to happen, how do we make it work? And we'll debrief them through the next couple of meetings and try to find areas of opportunity to make ourselves even better.
Awesome. Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think it's exciting that, I mean, well, that even the debriefing part of this, that the lessons learned for all of us. And so I know most of us did our part by just staying in, not going out. And so, but I know, and for the people that, and there are lots of hometown heroes who help people all over the place. So, but, you know, and like you said, that protecting your staff and keeping them safe, I know was first and foremost, and then rescuing people as you could. And then just the incredible responses that we say thank you. So.
Overall,
I
thank you.
just heard from community citizens, the great response that we had from our first responders, as well as all the public works, well, all of the city staff and county staff from within the city and then out in the county as well, just how everybody worked together. And, you know, it was a unified team effort. So heard a lot of positives from the community on that.
Overall, thank you for both of your leadership, SIG Chief Pruitt. I know that your job is not very easy, and it was not much easier that day. So thank you so much.
Is there any sort of estimation just how many people were rescued, how many people were saved? I know it'd probably be hard, just like you were saying before, just.
I think we've been kicking around the number of 70, but I don't know. There were times where there were vehicles rolling in with 12 people in it, and like John said, we'd go out to rescue one, we'd come back with 8, and then have to go back because we didn't get to the one we were heading off to. So
I think we showed 71 calls for service, but I mean, it's a 16-hour period. Some took 10 hours just to get to, so.
Yeah, we just thank you deeply, and I know that, you know, Pastor Nathan talked earlier too, just about the community and how the community comes together to look at the good, and good spread out throughout the community of Garden City, especially those who, not only in your department, but farmers who are out and about to help other neighbors in need, to get those people who are out, you know, trying to help other people as well. So people going out helping each other, getting stuck, and other people going up and stepping up and becoming those heroes to help out. So thank you from the depths of our hearts. Thank those people who went out and braved this storm to go out and help the others. We really, really, really appreciate all of their heroic efforts. So, thank you. Good job, guys.
Thank you both. Item B, Finney County Economic Development Corporation Board Member Phil Escarino has advised that he'll be stepping down from his position on the board. This is a city appointment, and the FCEDC will begin the process of soliciting interest in, I believe, this week. It is intended for the governing body to be in a position to consider appointing a new city representative to this board in February or potentially early March. A lot of that depends on what kind of process you want to use. Their job is kind of to solicit interest and kind of get those names and deliver them to you. From that point, you could it could go straight to a business item of the agenda. You'd have information similar to what you receive for advisory board appointments, where, you know, the material that they would submit would be attached to an agenda item. You can make the decision from there. In some years past, kind of dating back over the last 15 years or so, the commission has, on occasion, done interviews of these representatives to the board, and done those in the pre-meeting time slot across the hall, so you can have period of time to do Q&A with the interested candidates. In fact, that was the process used by Phil. He and I were reminiscing a little bit. There were three that expressed interest, one dropped. He and another person were scheduled to show up, and then he was the only one that showed up. So, but it worked out pretty well because Phil served us for a long time. But so it's really kind of up to the commission. You might give some thought to how you want to go about it. If we did do interviews, I think the second meeting in February is the time slot we have open for the pre-meeting workshop, or we could put it straight to a business agenda item, the second meeting in February. So you might give that some thought and can bring it up either around the horn later today or around the horn in that first meeting in February at the end of the meeting. We do want to thank Phil for his service. And the last couple of years, he's been the chairman of the Finney County Economic Development Corporation. So this Thursday will be his final meeting, and we sure appreciate his service. He's been very active in the Development Corporation Board, was very active in the economic development scene before that in his role with the gas company. So it's kind of the end of an era for us. You'll see some other items on there that are written reports submitted. Do you have any questions over those? We could, I think we have all of those staff representatives present. Hearing none, meetings of note, those requiring RSVPs, if you do those through Celine or Corey, we would appreciate it. I think we're ready for item 9A. That's the appropriation ordinance, and if approved, it would be ordinance number 2595-2024A.
Mayor, I move that we approve appropriation ordinance number 2595-2024A.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Do I hear any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed.
Item 10A, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a resolution designating banking institutions to be used as depositories for the city's public funds. And if approved, this would be resolution number 3094-2024. Jared?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. The resolution before you today is something that we bring up every year. This is a chance for us to designate those banks and savings and loans that are the depositories of city funds. Now, because they're on this list doesn't necessarily mean that they hold city funds, but it authorizes that they can be a depository for city funds. The only changes I would highlight are that some name changes. Garden City State Bank was previously on the list, but they underwent a name change, so now they're listed as KCB Bank. And then previously we had Bank of the West, but they are now BMO. So those are the only changes that are on the list. Otherwise, it's the same as we have presented before. So the alternatives before you today are to approve the resolution as presented, or to take no action today and provide recommendations for changing the list of institutions used to deposit public funds and direct staff to submit a resolution for consideration at a future meeting. And the recommendation from staff is to approve the resolution as presented. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I make a motion we approve resolution number 3094-2024.
I second.
Which one wants it? It's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you, Jared. We have somebody that's asked to call into this agenda item, so I'll dial the developer now. Stephen, this is Matt Allen in the City Commission meeting in Garden City, Kansas. We're getting ready to start your agenda item. If you have a problem hearing any of us, speak up and we'll try to repeat the statement or the question. So, Mayor and Commissioners, this is...
Matt, I have one question. How warm is it in Garden City?
It is not warm in Garden City today. But temperature's rising, so that's a good sign. All right, Commissioners, item B, the governing body is asked to consider and approve an ordinance rezoning from C2 General Commercial District to C2 General Commercial District with a planned commercial development overlay and a PCD plan. If approved, this would be ordinance number 2973-2024. All right. Alicia.
Mayor, Commissioners, the applicant Jennifer Chapman, on behalf of the Woodmont Company, is requesting to rezone the property generally located at 2310 East Kansas Avenue from C2 General Commercial District to C2 General Commercial District with a PCD planned commercial development overlay. The property has an existing 111,391 square foot building containing Kohl's, Burlington, and DaVita Dialysis. The applicant intends to use 2 different spaces containing 32,117 square feet and 7,868 square feet for indoor storage rental units. The owner intends to split off 2 out parcels on this property. The first phase of the PCD plan will be for the storage rental units in the north and the east of the existing building. There will be an individual monitoring the operations. However, customers will pay for their storage rental unit online. The second phase of the PCD plan will be for a coffee out parcel for 2024, followed by the front out parcel for 2024-2025. At this time, the timelines are tentative and subject to change. All phases of the PCD plan will go through the site plan review process. During the review of the PCD plan, staff will review the parking lot layout and the ADA requirements. Any amendments that are proposed shall follow the criteria in section 20-A.110 amendments. At this time, no submittals have been received to split off the out parcels. However, those areas are included as part of this PCD plan. Since the first phase of the PCD plan will be made to the existing building, there will be no landscape added to the outside of the sidewalk extension along the northwest entrance road to provide connectivity and pedestrian access to the property. The governing body may make their consideration according to the criteria in section 27.040. Below is a complete list of these criteria. Your alternatives are the governing body may adopt the planning commission's recommendation by approving the proposed ordinance. The governing body may override the planning commission's recommendation by a 2/3 majority vote, or the governing body may return the recommendation to the planning commission with a statement specifying the basis for the governing body's failure to approve or disapprove. The planning commission recommended approval of the rezoning request and the PCD plan at the December 21st, 2023 meeting. Staff recommends the governing body adopt the planning commission's recommendation by approving the ordinance and the PCD plan.
Thank you, Alicia. Commissioners, on the phone, I failed to introduce him, is Stephen Kosling, developer of the Woodmont project that encompasses the property discussed here today. And if it's all right, Mayor, we can invite Stephen to give any comments that he might want to give?
Yes, that's fine.
All right. Stephen, you're up. Do you have any comments?
Well, I'd just like to say, Grant Gary, my partner, is here with me today. And after having evaluated the various alternatives for the development, specifically the space that is situated behind Kohl's and will be behind Burlington, we had come to the conclusion following the preparation of the market study that the highest and best use for the property is the implementation of a self-storage facility, and thus, because the self-storage facility is not allowed for the current zoning, is the reason why we've made this request to the city for their consideration. Be glad to answer any questions associated with this request.
Thank you, Stephen.
So are self-storages usually, you have to be outside the city limits? Or
No.
we just have never, this is the first time this is ever, we've had it inside the city limits?
We do
Self-storage?
have self-storage. Yes.
Yeah.
The thing that's unique is self-storage is only permitted in industrial
I see.
districts. However, with the PCD that we created, self-storages, warehouses, food lockers are permitted uses under the PCD plan.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2973-2024.
motion? Do I hear?
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I kind of just had one question. So the process of this would be to, next steps for the developer or the city would be to notify the surrounding neighbors of this happening and then getting their suggestions or responses back.
So that was the initial part that
Okay.
went before the planning commission.
Okay, and all those came back?
Yeah, we did
Positive.
not have any feedback received.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have. Anything else? Okay, we do have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed.
Stephen, the motion was approved. Thank you for calling in, or answering the phone, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you all very much. We very much appreciate the partnership we have and have enjoyed with the city. I'll just say this, that Kohl's is very, very happy with their store performance thus far, and Burlington is scheduled to open up in March. So we continue to have success, much in part to the city and all that you've done for us. So thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Goodbye. Commissioners, item C. The governing body is asked to consider and approve an amendment regarding lot splits and any other cross-references to the Garden City subdivision regulations. And if approved, this would be ordinance number 2974-2024. Alicia.
Mayor and Commissioners, staff is requesting to amend section 70-2, subsection 5.010, and section 70-2, subsection 5.030 of the Garden City subdivision regulations. In review of the subdivision regulations, staff noticed that these two sections needed to be cleaned up. The previous language was not easy to understand the differences between approval or disapproval of a lot split application. The intent of the lot split application is still the same and now easier to read. The amendment includes language cleanup, disapproval of a lot split application, approval of a lot split application, types of vacations not permitted on a lot split. Your alternatives are the governing body may approve the amendment as presented, the governing body may not approve the amendment as presented, or the governing body may provide staff with an alternative. The Planning Commission recommended approval of the amendment as presented at the December 21st, 2023 meeting. Staff recommends the governing body approve the amendment as presented.
Any questions?
I thought the planning committee did a really good job of fleshing this out, so I think it's really well done.
Hearing none, do I?
Mayor, I'll make the motion that we approve ordinance 2974-2024.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Item D, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a resolution establishing a date and time for a public hearing regarding the annexation of a portion of North Jenny Barker Road. If approved, this would be resolution number 3095-2024. Mike.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Back on August 21st of 2023, the City of Garden City received a written request from Finney County requesting that the City of Garden City annex a portion of Jenny Barker Road into the city boundaries. This request is asking that the western half of Jenny Barker Road from the current city boundary north to the edge of the existing city boundary, there's a map there that map will pull up. As required by state statute, this resolution establishes a date and time for a public hearing at which time an annexation ordinance would be considered. So the date and the time for consideration is suggested to be March 19th. That's a typo in my memo there. March 19th, 2024 at 1:30 p.m. The alternatives is the governing body may approve the attached resolution, or the governing body may not approve the attached resolution, and staff recommends that you approve the attached resolution. Just for information, the east side of Jenny Barker Road was annexed when that piece of property came into the city that left the west side open.
Yeah, that sliver, I was confused at that. So that was unique.
So the public hearing is open for nearby property owners to share their input, or?
Everybody will have an opportunity to come and be in favor or against this particular piece that the county requested annexation. The county just has an easement for that road. That's why we're going through the public hearing. If they own the land, then it would just be automatic from the landowner.
And they will have the responsibility from then on, if we annex it, of taking care of it and all the maintenance and all the things that go along with that.
Yes.
I move that we approve resolution number 3095-2024.
I second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Item 12A, the governing body is asked to consider a request by 4A's Property, Inc. to extend the timeline to develop property located at 401 East Kansas Avenue.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. In December of 2020, 4A's Property, or the buyer, entered into an agreement with the City of Garden City to purchase and develop property located at 401 East Kansas Avenue. In Section 11 of the agreement, it outlines that within 1 year of closing, the buyer was to develop and construct one or more permanent structures on that property. There were a number of issues that were discovered in that initial year that led the buyer to request an annexation. That was granted administratively, as outlined in the agreement, through February of 2023. The buyer has requested an additional year-long extension in 2023 that came before you all, that extended it through February 5th of 2024. Since that point, a site plan has been approved, the building permit has been pulled, pre-construction meeting has taken place, they've started working on that site, but that structure is not yet complete. So as a result, the property owner has requested an extension related to this agreement. They anticipate the project being done at the end of May or early June, weather dependent, obviously. So as a result, before you is a 6-month extension. Mr. Alvarado with 4A Property is here. If you have any questions specifically for him, I'm sure he would be more than happy to answer those. There are 3 alternatives before you this afternoon. One is to authorize the city manager to sign that extension letter, extending that timeline an additional 6 months. You all may deny that request or provide alternative direction. No fiscal impact. Staff doesn't have a recommendation one way or the other, but would be happy to answer any questions that you have, or would be happy to invite the developer up if you have any questions for him.
And that extension will be till August 5th, 2024, correct? Not
Correct.
May or June? Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
So he's had some time, just in case.
A little bit of
That's
leeway in there, given the weather we're currently dealing with.
Mayor, I move that we authorize the city manager to sign the extension letter for 4A's Properties Incorporation to extend the timeline to develop property located at 401 East Kansas Avenue.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, the consent agenda item is, if you don't want to pull any of those items off and talk about them separately, is B1 through 3. So the appropriate motion would be to approve consent agenda item 1 through 3. Again, if you don't want to take anything off and talk about it separately.
Mayor, I move that we approve consent agenda B 1 through 3.
I second.
Okay, there's been a first and second. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passed.
That concludes the business items, Mayor. We can go to commission reports.
First up would be Commissioner Unruh.
So I really appreciated the pre-meeting. There was a lot of, even as many times you've heard the different ways that we can help fund development in the city and also just to encourage housing. It's always good to hear them, and I learn something new or something that you think you should have known, but you really and really see. And I'm really excited about some of the opportunities that we have with some of the tools that are going to be used in different ways. So thank you for a great pre-meeting. Lots of information. It's really neat to see what's happening here. I did want to just say again, reiterate my thanks to everyone who really did great work, especially the first responders, and the coordinated effort is always good. I love the thing that when in times of trouble, when we pull together, it really makes a difference for our city to shine, and it really shows no loss of life and, and very little loss of property. I would have not been one of those cars out there when they were, those pictures were, that was amazing. I also want to recognize that there were a lot of hometown heroes. I know a lot of people who shoveled walks or, keep it safer for their neighbors. I know that people were brought food. I heard about people who were checking on their neighbors. Lots of times you don't think about that, but I'm going to tell you, things can happen to heating units during that time of the year. And so I really appreciate all of the local hometown heroes and also all of the places that opened up for the warming shelters, especially during this weather event. I'll tell you, I didn't think we were going to have another Louise, but after a couple of years. I also just want to say thank you to Phil Escarino. I'll tell you, Phil has been, he's actually the biggest example of a hometown hero. He's been one of the biggest supporters all through his work, even at the gas company, Black Hills Energy. He was a huge supporter of Garden City and also just really Southwest Kansas. But I know that he stepped into some pretty big shoes on the Finney County Economic Development after the passing of Tom Walker. And I'll tell you, economic development didn't miss anything, and he stepped in that leadership role and has done tremendous. I really look at him and Susan Escarino as a power couple. Susan was the head of CASA and then also United Way, and so many other things. But this couple is really, it's like Matt talked about, has been a decade of not only service, but also just really making Garden City one of the best places to live. The last thing I want to do is, I really appreciate the dollars that are being spent by developers. They are part entrepreneur, part gambler, part all of these other things to really do these things. But I'll tell you, Kohl's, bringing Kohl's here, and I know that a lot of this work was done. The city years ago spent a lot of money to have someone help us attract these big name brand places and to come. And I'll tell you, those dollars have paid off time and time again. So, attracting businesses and organizations, that's why our retail sales tax is so great. And that's again why our property tax has been able to be kept level. And so I just want to say thank you to all the great work at Economic Development. I know they're having their annual meeting, and so there's going to be some really great information there. But I just want to say thank you just overall, just to what is happening in Garden City. And that's it.
Just echo what Commissioner Unruh said about, the first responder. Actually, all of the city and county employees, it takes all of us working together, across all of the departments during an event like this, especially the city and county. A big shout out to Paul Resley, who's the Finney County Emergency Management Director, who kind of got the ball rolling, getting the meetings kind of started on this, working with the National Weather Service and seeing that needed to get everybody all on the same page. Congratulations to Phil and his service on the Finney County Economic Development Board and being the voice for the city of Garden City. Great to see that the Garden City Police Department received the Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve Award for their outstanding support for Guard and Reserve employees. It's great to see that we're getting recognized for helping to support our staff and actually our staff members going above and beyond and serving our country. Wanted to recognize, because Nathan Heck was here, and January is a school board recognition month, and he is one of the new school board members for Garden City Public Schools. So just wanted to recognize the school board members, Robin Bergkamp, Andy Farmeyer, Jackie Jiggett, Nathan Heck, Mark Hind, Randy Rolston, and John Weesey. It takes the governing bodies to help lead and support and move our community forward, and so just wanted to recognize them during this month. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Commissioner Landgraf.
I just want to echo both of the other commissioners in saying thank you to our staff and the first responders, to everyone for what they did. They took a big risk and they saved lives. It's as simple as that. And so thank you to those people. Thank you as well to dispatch as well. I've seen the number of calls they got. They were flooded, and I know those calls, getting them had to have been difficult, being able to hear the panic that these people went through. So I just want to say thank you as well to dispatch for all that they did for this as well, and thank you as well to just the community. We had so many farmers and other members of the community who went out there and rescued people, and they had no obligation, they had no duty to. Instead, they did it just out of the goodness of their heart. So I just want to say thank you to those people as well. And also, when I was going back and looking at the previous commission meeting, I realized I did not congratulate Tom Nguyen on becoming a member of the commission. So I want to do that now and make sure to say congratulations.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, Commissioner Nguyen.
Yes, just an incredible thank you for Finney County Sheriff's Department, Finney County EMS, the City Public Works, the County Public Works, and also to City Manager Matt Allen for all of the updates that we received over the weekend. That took a lot of typing. And just everyone for sacrificing their time with their family the past few days. But also to our farmers, we could not have had the outcome that we had if it weren't for our farmers going out in the middle of the night, saving lives. And also, one big way to support local business is by voting in your Garden City Area Chamber of Commerce Business Awards. Those close on January 31st, so please have your vote in to recognize our local businesses. And lastly, also, congratulations to the Garden City Police Department for their Pro Patria Award. It is a testament to how well we can support not only locally but nationally. We are in need in our law enforcement, so this is a great push, a great avenue to allow that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioners. I would kind of just like to ask a broad question, and I don't know if you, Matt, can answer it, or if Derek or Danielle, but just with the event that happened, and I know like our community is very diverse in other cultures, was there any panic or different way of communication to them as far as preparedness and just caution of not getting out there and getting in harm's way?
Yeah, that's a great question. I know I can't answer it. I tell you, I think that might be a good debrief topic for that. The chiefs mentioned that they'll do a after-action review of this incident, and so debriefing with several of our community partners, because part of the emergency response isn't just like City of Garden City and Finney County agencies. Some of it are some not-for-profit agencies that are always at the table during a disaster response, and sometimes those are really good nexus points into communities where English may not be the primary language spoken, or there may be, new arrivals to the community and not aware of, where you get notices of road closures or those types of things. So I think as part of our after action review, if you don't mind me kicking it out a couple weeks, let them take that on. But no, I think it's a great question to ask. I have no ability to answer it.
I just think we there's one of those things that we got to always think about other new things, and just kind of like the zoo. We did have some efforts that were planned out there to kind of keep the animals and things safe, and so they can't communicate, obviously, but we have our zoo staff who obviously know about that involvement. So I just kind of asked about if these things were ever talked about or planned about, or just wanted to communicate with everyone.
Sure. We'll hope to include something specifically about that in the after action report. And those are really good places to bring up those things that maybe when you're being critical of your own response, you say, oh, we didn't think about that. We didn't think about that. It's those are the places you learn when the stakes are low, right? The disaster's over, but and there's plenty of patting people on the back for excellent performance, but especially the two chiefs, they'll be digging into this to say how do we get better.
Chief, did you have something to say? I know you came moving forward.
I can kind of just caveat on what Matt said. That part of that LEPC is a bunch of different organizations, and some of the not-for-profits, Catholic charities. All of those folks come to the table and are part of that. So they'll be part of that debrief, and we're going to beat the stink out of this.
Great.
And there was a lot of great work. We could talk for 2 hours on all the great work, but there's a lot of stuff that we can improve always. So.
Good. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that communication is there. So it's awesome to hear. So I guess we'll kind of wait for that debrief and go from there. So appreciate the efforts. All right. Also, I think I'd like to just mention, of course, the leaders who have been nominated to the new positions. Congratulations to all around the board, school board, Garden City Board of Trustees, and everyone else who has been kind of new to this disposition. So I'd also like to just state out that the January 30th for Town Hall, it'll be at 7 o'clock here in this room. So that's also a good time to come and discuss and bring up any, efforts that you would like to see in the city, or from the commission, staff points, whatever you have. That's a good time to come and talk about that. So also just please be safe. It's still pretty icy out there. I know these temperatures are below zero and whatnot, so I've seen city street workers out there trying to break up the ice in the gutters to kind of get that water to flow down, and they're struggling. So it's gonna freeze, and it's gonna take some time. So just be safe, watch the ice, walk with caution. I about slipped a few times, so. But yeah, I think that's, I do have a proclamation reading that I'm going to have the opportunity to read at VO on January 22nd. So if you want to hear me stumble a little more, you can come out to that event and hear me read. I'll have my readers on. It'll be fun. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So, but with that, I believe that's it. Thanks for coming. We'll see you next time.